Warning. The Intercontinental Committee on Podcasting warns that listening to the Get the Fluff Out podcast may induce euphoric feelings of nostalgia, which may lead to complete and total ratitude.
The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Fluff, get the fluff out.
Welcome to Get the Fluff Out. I'm Hollywood, along with your co-host, Dirty Jim. And thanks for joining us on our rockin' journey through the decades in our quest for the musical Holy Grail, creating the ultimate Gen X rockin' mixtape playlist. On each episode, we'll choose which songs from an album review that will make the cut to appear on the playlist. It's time to experience the soundtrack of our lives. Well, Dirty Jim, it's time for another episode of Get the Fluff Out. How's it going, dude?
It's going great, Hollywood.
Good.
How's Frank doing over there?
Oh, Frankie is okay, actually. You know what? It's actually good that you asked about him because he was, as people have known, if you've listened to the last couple episodes, Frank was involved in an accident.
Well, we know he was involved in an accident. That's why we made fun of him last time, because we already knew he was okay.
Yeah, and so he was fine. He just had a couple bumps and bruises and some road rash and stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like he's pretty much all healed up. In fact, his Vespa is okay. It's just scratched up a little bit, but yeah, he's doing fine.
Well, that part's a shame. Not that he's doing fine. That his Vespa.
Hold on. This time, look at him. Frank is not holding up a sign. He's just holding up an appendage from his hand.
Oh, he's saying Dirty Jim's number one.
Dirty Jim's number one.
Hey, you know where I went the other night?
Where'd you go?
I spent a little time with some Connecticut boys.
Really?
Yeah.
In Florida?
That's a fact.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay. Well, tell me about it.
Well, you know James.
James McCowan?
Yeah. Him and a couple of the boys were taking his boat from Fort Lauderdale all the way back up to Connecticut.
Wow, crazy. So did you actually meet him like in a marina on a boat dock or
yeah,
what?
I met him at a marina, and then we went out to eat, had a couple beers, but they were really tired because Joe Cresco and this guy Grayson, I don't know if you probably don't know him, but
no, I just know Joe. I know Wig.
They flew down that morning. Their flight was a little delayed, and then they got a late start. So by the time they finally hooked up with me, it was like 8:15. They were a little tired. So we just had a little dinner, a couple drinks, and then I went on my way. But it was fun.
So hold on a second. So you're saying they actually had a boat and they were actually boating back up to Connecticut?
Yeah, James's boat.
Wow, okay. That's a long trip, huh? A couple days?
I think they said 5 days they're going to take.
Wow, 5 days in a boat.
He doesn't sail at night. I think since he heard the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, he stopped sailing at night.
Exactly. He doesn't want to get the curse of the albatross.
No one does.
Exactly.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Wow. All right. That's pretty cool. I love being able to hang out with some old buds from high school.
Yeah, it was fun. I hadn't seen them in a while.
All right. Very cool.
What do you think? Should we get right into this one?
I think we should get right into the music.
Well, tell me about it.
All right. So the album that we're going to be reviewing today is by STYX, and the album is The Grand Illusion, which was released on July 7th, 1977. It is their 7th album in their catalog. And so this was actually only 5 years after the band originated in Chicago, Illinois in 1972. And so the band members on this album, and this is actually considered the classic lineup of the 70s into the 80s. You have Dennis DeYoung on vocals, keyboards and synthesizer. You have Tommy Shaw, the amazing Tommy Shaw, on guitar and vocals. We have James J.Y. Young on guitar. He also does synthesizer and vocals. Chuck Panozzo on bass, and brother John Panozzo on drums. Dirty Jim, why don't you give some album notes for STYX, The Grand Illusion, and then we can get into the review.
All right, I just have a few here. This album went triple platinum in the United States, and they're estimating that it sold about 6 million worldwide, which is a phenomenal number. And it hit the U.S. Billboard 200 at number 6. And that is all I have.
Okay, for me, one thing I as I listened to the album again, because I hadn't heard this album in many years, and I realized that STYX influenced a lot of progressive rock bands of like the 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s here, because I myself, I've continued to listen to progressive rock and newer progressive rock bands, and there's bands out there like Spock's Beard, Flying Colors, Transatlantic, and I especially like a band called the Neil Morse Band. And as I'm listening to this album, I'm like, whoa, there's elements of this album I'm hearing in Neil Morse's music. And it's cool to kind of hear stuff full circle when you're hearing a relatively new album, and now you're thinking, oh my God, it sounds a little bit like STYX. So it's cool when you hear those influences.
Well, maybe for some, Hollywood. Maybe for some.
All right, let's go down. Let's get into the tracks.
All right, so let's start with track number 1, The Grand Illusion. All right, so The Grand Illusion. This song always sounded so much like larger than life to me. It's like listening to a rock opera on Broadway. It's so full and so bold. It's actually, Hollywood, bursting with melodious goodness. I'd like to say, welcome to The Grand Illusion. You are officially a prime cut.
All right. Okay, so when you're starting an album with your title track, it better be good. And STYX does not disappoint with The Grand Illusion. I think from the moment of the opening intro, I mean, it has lots of synthesizer, heavy rock guitars. I mean, fans of 70s rock know that this is STYX once you hear the opening intro of this song. And then you hear the vocals. Dennis DeYoung, he sounds great on lead vocals. And then there's Tommy Shaw in the background. He's providing some of the awesome high harmony vocals, which I love. And then Shaw also lays down a dirty guitar solo right during the middle break. And JY plays the melodic ending lead guitar breaks, which is really cool. So to me, great way to start the album. Prime cut all the way, and it's making it to the ultimate Gen X rockin' mixtape playlist, something I want to hear Dirty Jim say at least once during this podcast.
Isn't it great, though, how this song just burst out at you, you know?
Oh, yeah. I love it.
You know, I'm going to say Broadway show a lot here during this podcast, but that's what you feel like. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's so, like, vibrant.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know what? Let's do this. Let's move on down to track number 2, Fooling Yourself, The Angry Young Man.
Okay, Fooling Yourself, The Angry Young Man. Now, this is, to me, classic progressive rock at its finest. I mean, there's so many different time signature changes throughout the song. I love that kind of stuff. That means when there's different time signature changes, there's not necessarily a good flow, like Dirty Jim says.
Not always.
That's true. But, I mean, the intro, to me, it's spectacular. There's a combination of, again, synthesizers, keyboards, and then you have this acoustic guitar being played by Tommy Shaw, who's also the main lead singer on this track. And when you're hearing the song, there's no real definitive traditional chorus. But what could be the chorus actually sounds like a pre-chorus to me. It says, you know, you're fooling yourself and you don't believe it. You're killing yourself, you don't believe it. Get up, get up.
Hey, why didn't you let me...
Get back on your feet.
I've got your back here, H. Wood. Why didn't you let me do that part?
Okay, let's try it again.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. You're fooling yourself and you don't believe it. You're killing yourself and you don't believe it. Get up, get up. Get back on your feet. You're the one that get beat and you know it. Yeah. I love this song.
You turned down my vocals just enough in the playback, and it's going to sound like I'm doing perfect backup harmonies for you.
Exactly. So yeah, I love this song. There's so many different changes back and forth. It's a great track. It's a prime cut, and it's absolutely making the Gen X playlist.
All right, so Fooling Yourself was the second single from the album. And I don't know if you mentioned that Tommy Shaw was the singer on this one.
I did.
The lead? Okay.
Yeah, love his vocals.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, all three of those guys could sing.
Yeah.
But this one hit number 20. This single hit number 20 in Canada. And to me, this song sounds a lot like something from Kansas. And I know, because I read it on Wikipedia, that Tommy Shaw went to a Kansas show and was so impressed by their music. And I think that it kind of influenced some of the stuff on this album. But like you said, there's a synthesizer led intro. It's about 1 minute and 16 seconds. It's good, but it went on a little bit long. I didn't hate it. And although I was ready for the meat of the song to take over, it actually didn't happen until about 1 minute and 38 seconds. But this is another one that I could see on a Broadway stage with some kind of choreographed dance. And matter of fact, whenever I'm thinking...
No dancing.
No, but,
come on.
Well, you have no idea, because I went to see Rock of Ages in New York City a few years back with a girl that I was dating at the time.
Okay.
And I think we got fourth row right in front of the stage to the left a little bit. But we actually ended up being in the second row because the first two rows on that left side were cut off. So it started with row 2 and 3, or I'm sorry, 3 and 4.
Right.
So in front of us was a very happy family, Caucasians. There was a man, there was a woman, and a young boy, probably, I'm going to put him at 14, 15 years old.
All right.
And here's me and this girl sitting next to me. And they start these dance numbers. And these girls who are doing just the dance parts and singing, they're not really having speaking parts during the play, but they're the dance girls. Well, they're coming right to the edge of the stage, which we're sitting right there. And right in this 14 and 15-year-old's face are just these butts in short skirts. And this girl leans over to me and she goes, "What do you think his mother is thinking right now?" And I'm like, she chose the wrong seats for her son, but he is getting the show of a lifetime. So you do this, you put this on the Broadway stage, and I want to see those dancers. I don't care what H. Wood wants to do.
No, the way you described it, okay, I'm there.
Yeah. So anyway, with this song, the intro went on a little long, and I wish there was more singing, but it would be a GTFO, and I think you know what that stands for. Violation to not include it as a lower end prime cut.
All right.
I took a little time with the Broadway show, but I was getting vivid pictures in my head, and I couldn't get them out. So
no, I loved it. Now I know what you're talking about when you said dancing. In my mind, I'm thinking, people in tutus.
What, the Nutcracker Suite?
Yes, that's exactly what I pictured in my head.
Nope. All right. Let's get on down to track number 3, Superstars. All right. So Superstars for me, musically, it's just so rich and majestic, which I could pretty much say for a lot of these songs on this album. But this one's also uplifting and inspiring. I gotta now reiterate, how has nobody ever done a Grand Illusion like Broadway show or Cirque du Soleil? I saw the Beatles' Love Show in Vegas, their Cirque du Soleil show. It was so good, and I could see this music being that good too, with a nice show going on behind it.
Yeah.
But as I'm listening to this one, I actually was like, I don't know, is this good for a playlist? And I went and took a shower, and I turned it up a little bit so I could hear it in the shower. And when I heard it loud, I said to myself, Superstars belongs on this Gen X playlist, but it falls a little short of the highest honor. But I shall label it a glorious deep cut.
Glorious.
Yeah, glorious. You know what? You got to change it up every once in a while. If I said solid, like, hey, solid, because I say solid a lot. So I said, you know what? I'm going to give this one a little more because it needs a little more. So I gave it glorious.
All right. Okay, then. So for me, Superstars. Now, when you hear the synthesizer and harmonized vocals, again, it's clearly STYX. I think if you're a fan of 70s rock, and even if you never heard this song before, and you just hear just the music, right away, it's going to be a STYX track. To me, this is it's a cool song. It's a mid-tempo track, but it's on the slower side. Tommy Shaw is taking the lead on the vocals. I love his voice. I love the guitar solo, which is played by both James Young and Tommy Shaw. They're harmonizing the entire guitar solo together, which is really cool. But it's not really up there. It's not in the category of prime cut. I actually was on the fence whether I should deep cut or fluff cut, but I do like the track, and so I can't fluff cut it. It's gonna be a deep cut, and it's making the Ultimate Gen X playlist.
I was the same place you were, and I was like, man, it's just so good though. But at the same time, you question it a little.
Yeah.
But I think when people hear it, they're going to be like, yeah, I remember this song. It is good. I'm glad they put it on the list. All the people out there that are waiting for this list to come out.
Yeah.
All right.
waiting with bated breath.
All right, let's move on to track number 4, Come Sail Away.
Okay, so Come Sail Away. Now, this song is basically, to me, 2 different songs merged into one. Mm-hmm. It's almost like that 70s TV show, The Odd Couple. The beginning of the song is a sophisticated piano ballad, which is the Felix Unger character.
Tony Randall, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. If you will. And this part actually lasts about 2 minutes and 25 seconds. And I really dig the opening intro of it. And then it just rocks for the rest of the song, which is kind of like Oscar Madison. And I love that middle bridge synthesizer solo, which kind of emulates the sounds of this alien spaceship that's coming down to Earth with this musical odd meter timing, which, again, I love that kind of stuff. And then it just slams you just right into the heaviness of rock. I mean, there's a reason this song has 118 million streams on Spotify, and it's by far the most popular song on this album. So, in fact, the second most streamed song on the album is Fooling Yourself, and it only has 8 million streams. Now, do the math on that. So, to me, it's a definite prime cut, and I'm sticking with the masses because this is also my far out, stellar, out of sight, sailing away track of the album. It's a prime cut and all that.
Far out.
Out of sight.
Well, I think you're going to be surprised in a minute here, my friend.
Okay.
I really can't say much different from what you said. I mean, you talked about the 2 minute and 25 second ballad at the beginning, and then really that last 3 minutes and 40-ish seconds is actually, for me, what butters the bread for this song.
Oh, yeah.
It's vibrant, and like the previous songs, it's very theatrical. I wish the best parts of this song went on a little longer, but this is obviously a prime cut, and it is also my Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto song of the album.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
You know what that makes it?
I do know what that makes it.
Here we go, baby. Here it comes.
Ooh, doggy, that's spanking good.
Wow.
Ooh, oh, baby, that was spanking good.
That was spanking good. I got to ask you a question.
I love it, man.
If this song remained a ballad, what would you have given it?
You know what? If it remained a ballad, just the way that it was actually really good. It would have actually been probably a very super strong deep cut.
Right.
Maybe not a prime cut, or maybe just a lower prime cut, but just that beginning of the song I thought was really good. But like you said, once it kicked into the rock, if it lasted longer, I wouldn't have minded it. Obviously, the song is already over 6 minutes long, so it's a pretty long song. But the vocals, the harmonies, how full it sounded on the "Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me."
Yeah, only it sounded really good.
Yeah, not like that. All right.
Shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Track number 5, Miss America. Okay, Miss America. So this one took 51 seconds to actually get going, and it was a bit of a long 51 seconds. If only the song started right there, it would have been so perfect. But after the intro, this is obviously the most rocking song on the album. It's definitely a prime cut for me. But right here and now, in front of my friend Hollywood and the GTFO community, I'd like to formally petition the powers that be to remove the very unnecessary intro from this dynamic winner. I will be sitting here anxiously awaiting a response from whoever handles such matters.
Yeah, so will I. After all the emails I've sent over to Spotify regarding allowing me to edit my own 30-second clips.
Oh, I am so worried about what 30-second clips they're going to choose, especially for when we go to the 80s band, because it always seems like they end up in the solos for the 80s.
Yeah, and then obviously on something like this, I mean, progressive rock bands, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff where it's a keyboard synthesizer solo or guitar solo.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Space Invaders game.
Exactly. Those are going to be all the 30-second clips.
Exactly, and everyone's going to be like, what are these guys talking about? If you've never heard STYX before, and I'm sure a lot of people out there that are listening do or have, but they're going to, if you had never heard it before and you hear these clips that are just the Space Invaders sounds, you're going to be like, what are they listening to?
Yeah, but again, guys out there, just know we're not the ones who select, and I'm not the one, or Frank is not the one who edits just the 30-second clips. This is already chosen through an algorithm by Spotify. Whatever. We still enjoy the music part of this podcast, so whether you have a free account where you just hear the 30-second clips, or you have a Spotify premium account where you're able to listen to the full tracks, it's still the best way to listen to this podcast is on Spotify. If you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or any other platform, obviously you're not hearing the music, you're just hearing the talk portion of it. So that's why we always say, come on over to Spotify. We make no money, just like Dirty Jim says all the time from Spotify. We just want you guys to hear some of the music as we're reviewing the album.
Yeah, if you were picking the 30-second tracks for some of these albums, I would say it's high time for you to fall on a sword.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell
fall
me
on Excalibur?
Tell me what you think about Miss America.
Okay, so for me, Miss America. Now, to me, I have some of the same thoughts that you had. I mean, the synthesizer intro, it's decent, but it goes on too long. I think it's unnecessary for the song because they could have started right at that rockin' main riff. I love it. And to me, as I'm hearing JY sing, he actually sings the song very sarcastically, because when you read through the lyrics of the song, it really is about the absurdity of beauty pageants. And one of my favorite lines in the song is where he says, "In your cage at the human zoo, they all stop to look at you. Next year, what will you do when you have been forgotten?" That's kind of harsh, but to me, that rockin' part is awesome. I love the song, but they kind of drag that end out, kind of repeating the title of the song over and over in the fade out. So to me, if they had cut out that intro and maybe cut the ending a little bit, the song would have been a solid kind of like a rockin' 3-minute track. I dig this song, even with those kind of elements to me. It is, like Dirty Jim said, the rockinest song of the album. It's not a super high prime cut. I would say it would be a grade B prime cut for Hollywood.
I think that we could live with that.
Yeah.
And I will be passing around that petition to see if they can remove those parts of the songs. And I will add an addendum for what you want removed at the end.
Ooh, addendum.
Yes.
Wow, Dirty Jim.
But,
I love when you use such a highfalutin words.
Well, I am. I'm that way. I'm a special kind of way. So
yeah, you definitely are special.
let's get off Miss America, and let's get down to track 6, Man in the Wilderness.
So Man in the Wilderness, on this track, it's essentially a slow ballad with keyboards and an acoustic guitar, and there is a little bit of rocking there in the chorus, and then there's this really long guitar solo between 3 minutes and 12 seconds, so 4 minutes and 28 seconds. Obviously, I dig long guitar solos, and this was a good one. And as I was listening to the song, for some reason, it kept reminding me a little bit of Rainbow with Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, a little bit.
Those Rainbow years. It just kind of had a little bit of a feeling to it that I was thinking, there's a little bit of Ritchie Blackmore, a little Rainbow in this, and I like it. Tommy Shaw sounds really good on the vocals, but obviously, Dio, if he sang this song, dude, yeah. Dio would have killed the vocals on this song. I would have loved to hear Dio sing Man in the Wilderness. But I really like this track. It's not a prime cut for me, but it's definitely not a fluff cut. I'm going to keep it in a deep cut category, and we'll see, depending on what Dirty Jim says, if it's going to make it to the ultimate Gen X Rock and Mixtape playlist.
Well, the best way I could describe Man in the Wilderness is it's an epic ballad / power ballad. And it's written by Tommy Shaw about his life in STYX and his brother going off to fight in Vietnam. You can tell that the song means a lot to him by the effort that he put into the lyrics and the vocals. It's long, it's not flashy, but I also think it deserves to be heard. But I'm also taking it as only a deep cut.
Wow, awesome. I think we've matched on just about every song.
Yeah, we have, because we did Prime, right, with Fooling Yourself and Grand Illusion. We went deep cut with Superstars. Right. Went back to Prime. For Miss America and Come Sail Away. And then we went deep for Man in the Wilderness.
Wow, let's see what's going to happen if we're going to match for the last 2 songs.
Well, that means so far all of them come to the playlist.
Yeah, so far the first six tracks.
I have a feeling track number 7 may not have wanted to hear that. So here we go with track number 7, Castle Walls. All right, Castle Walls for me. Not much happens for 6 whole minutes. Just when you think something is starting to happen, it doesn't. And a little spoiler alert here, it's not going to. It's not a rocker, and it's not really a ballad, but I know what I'm classifying it as on the Get the Fluff Out podcast. It is an authentic fluff cut. And on a side note, this would actually still fit in perfectly in the Grand Illusion Cirque du Soleil show, but it will not fit in our playlist. For me, anyway.
All right, so for me, Castle Walls. To me, it's a decent song. It has all the progressive rock elements. I mean, you have a slow keyboard intro, and then there's parts of the song where there's distorted guitars in the chorus, and then you have heavy synthesizers in the bridge, and there's a dramatic back and forth progressions. But like you said, there's something about the song. I struggled with this one. I'm struggling. I'm on the fence. I mean, I actually changed it back and forth. Deep cut, fluff cut, deep cut. I changed it like 4 different times in my notes because I kept listening in my truck back and forth to work. I'm like, is it a deep cut? No, it's a fluff cut. It's a deep cut. No, I like this kind of stuff.
You know what? So, the vocals, though, during the Castle Walls part sound great, like the gang vocals.
Yeah.
Sound great, but I hear what you're saying because I felt the same way.
Yeah, so I struggled with this one, but in the end, I did decide that this track, to me, is a deep cut. It should be on the playlist, but because Dirty Jim gave it a fluff cut, it is nullified, and it does not make the playlist. Sorry, Castle Walls.
Will you miss it?
No.
You know what? Actually, Man in the Wilderness, I kind of really like the song, but if you said no to it, I'd be like, okay, you know what? We got a lot of good STYX ahead of that, where I could have lost either one of those songs.
Yeah, me too. I kind of there was three songs on the album where I kind of went back and forth, but let's wrap this up, and I have a feeling we're gonna agree on this grand finale.
You think the last 2 songs will be part of the grand finale?
Yeah.
All right. So track number 8, the grand finale.
Okay. So the grand finale for me. To me, it's okay. The song, it's 1 minute and 57 seconds long, and it's very creative. It's a creative way to end the album. I mean, it's mixing different musical elements and lyrics from several songs on the album, and if you listen to it closely, you'll hear stuff from the Grand Illusion. He's kind of singing something like in Superstars, and from another track, and so they take elements from different songs. But again, it's only a minute and 57 seconds, and it sounds a lot like a reprise in a Broadway musical. I know Dirty Jim brought it up, and yeah, when you hear this, the grand finale, it's super Broadway musical. There's nothing wrong with a good musical, but for me, it's not for the Gen X Rockin' Mixtape. It is a fluffernutter cut.
I totally agree with pretty much everything you said. It's really just the culmination of the show.
Yeah.
It's a splendiferous conclusion to the show. And it is very Broadway-ish. It's more of a short, flamboyant send-off than a complete song. It definitely won't be missed. I'm sending it off to the wasteland to live out its remaining years.
Now get the fluff out and don't come back. Ain't nobody never gonna love you.
But I would like to conclude with this, Hollywood. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I hope this makes the cut. Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. It's a fluff cut
Ethel
for me.
Merman. Little Ethel Merman for you guys. Bravo, Ethel.
Thank you.
That's your new name.
Thank you. Thank you. What?
It's Dirty Ethel. Dirty Ethel.
So we agreed that the last 2 will not be making it, but the first 6 all will be on that Gen X playlist.
Yeah, there you go. So, STYX Grand Illusion. Personally, I actually never bought the album or had the tape. I don't know if you did.
I had the
Jim.
8-track. I have the CD. I don't think I ever had the cassette.
Okay, and did you have it in like middle school or high school, you said?
Yeah, I had it a long time ago. Like,
okay.
I remember, I had it on 8-track, so,
yeah,
that was early.
Yeah, I never heard the whole album before. All the songs I had heard were the ones that were on the radio, so I wasn't familiar with Superstars or Castle Walls or Man in the Wilderness, and obviously the grand finale. But the other songs, I heard them because they played all the other songs on the radio, and I love them all. So, to me, it's a solid album. When you can have a good 4 or 5 songs on an 8-song album, that's a good album.
Yeah. And the other songs weren't bad. Like Castle Walls was not bad, but it's not a fit.
Yeah, I think that if you're a fan of progressive rock, especially, this kind of 70s progressive rock, it works. You're into it because you love all the different elements, and I do too. I mean, I do when I'm into that progressive rock mood and I'm listening to stuff like STYX or even, Pink Floyd and some other stuff that's, progressive rock. I don't mind all the kind of moody, slow kind of stuff that's a little freaky and weird and the odd meter time changes because I'm expecting it. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a solid album, and to me, it's going to be represented well on the Gen X Rock and Mixtape playlist.
I think the cool kids call it prog rock.
Prog rock. There you go. Proggy. All right, Dirty Jim. So that does it for our album review for The Grand Illusion by STYX. So why don't you go ahead and mention our companion episode as well as what amazing music that we're going to be reviewing next time.
So our companion episode to this one, if you have not listened yet, is the 1980 Judas Priest album, British Steel. And in a couple weeks, you will get 2 new episodes, and they will be Alice in Chains' Dirt album from 1992 and the 1988 album from Cinderella, Long Cold Winter.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Why don't you tell everyone? I'm looking forward to it too. But why don't you tell everyone how they can get a hold of us?
Okay, so guys, if you have any comments that you like to make, just go ahead and feel free to comment on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. All you have to do is just go in and search in each of those locations. Just type in Get the Fluff Out Podcast, and you're going to find us. Or if you'd like to just do a Google search, you can go directly to our website, www.getthefluffOutpodcast.com. And obviously, we mentioned it before, we prefer that you guys listen to the podcast on Spotify so you can hear the music portion. I mean, this is a music plus talk podcast. So go to Spotify, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. That way you're notified when new episodes are released on the 1st and the 15th of the month.
And it's free. Free. All right, so our sound effects, some of our sound effects, the ones we didn't do ourselves, are from a site called zapsplat.com. And our intro music was taken from a site called looperman.com, and it's a mixture of 2 loops. One is a drum loop from HP Records called Vintage Kit 2, and the other one is a guitar loop from GeoMoon called Groovy Rock Guitars Loop Riff.
And then the outro music is a song called Elysian Fields by the ultimate Connecticut band Forced Entry from 1988. Which was copywritten by Dirty Jim and Hollywood.
They did it when they could.
Exactly. So we want to thank everyone out there for carving out some time in your busy schedule to listen to the Get the Fluff Out podcast and to get a little Gen X nostalgic with us. So with that being said, Dirty Jim, we just got the fluff out.
Domo arigato, Hollywood.